This video is brought to you by the Disc Golf Nerd Patreon support team. Go to patreon.com/discgolfnerd. What's up, everybody? Welcome to my review of the Innova Star Invictus. It's a brand new distance driver on the market from Innova. Big thank you to my friend Chris Caulfield for sending me this disc to test and review. Chris has been immensely supportive to me in a number of different ways over the years, and I truly appreciate his continued support of the channel. He sent me a bunch of great plastic recently to test and review, and this is one of them. Typically, I would use the Disc Golf Depot for a lot of my Innova reviews over the last few years, but with everything that's been happening lately, I have not been able to really make it down to the shop, but I did want to give them a quick shout out. If you're in the Portland area, Disc Golf Depot, check them out. They have awesome plastic and really great prices. Let's take a look at the Star Invictus. First of all, I always love the Star logo here. It looks nice, it's simple, it's clean. It doesn't really have a lot of extra information or little graphics everywhere, so it's just a good, solid, clean looking disc. Here are the flight numbers. 10, 4, 0, and 3. I would say those are pretty spot on for my testing. This disc is overstable, but maybe not quite as overstable as I was expecting, but we'll get into that a little bit later. Innova Disc Golf, of course, this does have some like stamp issues going on with this disc, like where there's some hot stamp kind of still flaking off in spots. Oh yeah, you can see some of it kind of flake off right on camera there. That happens. It's not really a big deal. This disc is almost certainly going to end up getting dyed as well, so I'm not too worried about it. I'm going to clean it up good and probably get it in the dye relatively soon. So the weight on this particular one is 172 grams, and also maybe you can see that they have Invictus molded in or stamped in to the bottom of the disc, which I think is great and a real big improvement over the old school just writing the the code for the disc in pen on the bottom, which is often quite easy to kind of fade over time and could be an issue if it has a different stamp or whatever. So I like that they do that now on Innova discs and lots of other companies. Let's take a look at the profile on this one. Pretty flat, no real dome to speak of this one. It's not like super board flat, but it's pretty close for sure. The rim is pretty manageable. It's not super wide. There's not a lot to it. And it's just got that classic overstable vibe to it. It's got a little bit of a flat edge there. And this disc really just kind of seems like a faster, a little bit less stable Firebird. This particular one at least. Here is a Star Firebird, previously dyed already. Let's put that up next to this guy. So you can see the shape is pretty similar overall. I think the Invictus is a little bit lower profile, perhaps. This particular Firebird is a little flatter too, as you can see there. And also, it seems like the Invictus does have just a little bit more of a width to the rim, side by side, and maybe a little bit. Yeah, see, it has that little bit of a curl to it, where the Firebird has that kind of chunky outside edge. There's a Firebird, definitely the closest thing I have to the Invictus in stock right now. And this is an Opto Culverin, straight out of my bag. And this disc is definitely not as overstable as the Invictus, but it's definitely still a stable to overstable fairway driver. It's just not quite as much. Similar, it's a 9-speed as opposed to a 10, but there it is next to the disc that's probably most similar out of my bag at least, which is this Opto Culverin. So I like the feel of this disc, no issues there. The Star plastic is well documented on my channel, as most plastic blends are at this point. It's one of my favorites of all time. It's really grippy, it's durable, it's got a great feel, it looks nice. I definitely can't wait to dye it. It dyes up really great. It's probably one of the best plastic types to dye if you're into that sort of thing. One of the best all-around premium driver plastics on the market. So let's talk about the flight of this thing. Not going to be a super surprising description, but it's an overstable flyer. It is definitely faster than something like a Firebird. It's interesting that a Firebird says distance driver on it, as does the Invictus, but speeds 9 and 10, are those really fairways? Are they distance? It doesn't really matter. It's all kind of subjective anyway, and it's all about how the thing flies and whether or not it works for the shot at hand. But I would say this thing is probably more of a control kind of fairway driver than distance driver for my arm speed. Definitely not quite as overstable as I was expecting, and I like the testing of this disc quite a bit. I had a good time throwing it. It's something you can flex pretty easy even at my lower arm speed. It is still throwable. It's not a complete meat hook, so I can still lay into it and get some flight out of it before the fade kicks in, which I like. So I think Two of the kind of main things I think this disc would be good for: overstable Firebird type disc for people who don't throw quite as far. If you have a lower arm speed or you just don't put as much energy and spin on your disc, this could be a good option over a Firebird because it's a little bit quicker, so it allows you to get a little bit more distance out of it, and it's a little bit more forgiving. It's a little more throwable, and will stretch out a little bit more distance, and it's not something that just really wants to dig and get to the ground right away. It will kind of fly for a little while, which is nice when you have a little bit lower arm speed. If you're looking for that ultra meat hook flyer, this is definitely not it. I would say any of the Firebirds I've thrown are definitely more overstable. This Star Firebird here is 9304, so it's not exactly the same flight numbers. I think that's pretty on. It has a little bit more glide, a little bit less fade than something like a Firebird, and it is definitely faster. I think the Invictus would be a great flyer for power players that throw with a lot of speed. You can really smash this thing and probably get it out there pretty good before the fade starts to kick in. And it could be something that's extremely trustworthy and consistent for somebody that has a lot of power and maybe has trouble flipping other drivers. Definitely could be a good option for you to look into. But all in all, I really enjoyed the testing of this disc. It kind of surprised me with its ability to fly a little bit more than I was expecting, but still have that overall overstable flight characteristic to it for flex shots, hyzers, little spike shots, good forehand disc, all of that stuff. But it is definitely a little bit faster and a little more throwable than something like a Firebird or a really overstable Felon or a Pioneer or something along those lines. So that's my review of the Star Invictus. Definitely something you want to look into if you find like a Firebird to be too overstable and you want something that's kind of in between. This could be a good option. And again, as a wind fighter, overstable kind of utility disc for people who have a little bit less arm speed, this could be a great option as well. That's my review. Thanks once again to my friend Chris Caulfield for hooking me up with this disc. Stay tuned on Instagram. I'll probably dye this thing and maybe do a giveaway or something in the future. I'm not really sure. But stay tuned and I'll check you guys very soon. Cheers.